Watch live and loud on the big screen this Sunday as the West Tigers take on the New Zealand Warriors at 2 p.m. The Ambush will be back at West Ashfield on Sunday, and they're giving away exciting prizes. So head to West Ashfield, where they'll be offering half-price pizza until halftime and selected beers for $4.50 a schooner. Wow. And terms and conditions apply. West Ashfield practices the responsible service of alcohol. Drink responsibly. And of course, West Ashfield are the home of the West Tigers. They are at West Ashfield, 115 Liverpool Road, Ashfield. For more information, visit West Ashfield's website, westashfield.com.au, or give them a follow on Facebook or Instagram at West Ashfield. And welcome back into another episode of the West Life Podcast. I am your host, Josh Barnett. We are sponsored by West Ashfield Leagues, the best place to watch the game live and loud. And you could do that on Sunday afternoon when we take on the Warriors with the Ambush event going on. And we are also sponsored by MG Pump Solutions. No Shane this week. He's got a huge job on the tools this week, so not back just yet. I do have Rob and hopefully Trippa. We're still we've advertised it. He asked us to come on, and he's currently in Mykonos in Greece. So we're trying to wake him up and get him to join the stream. So stand by. We're trying to get the man with the golden laugh, as I called him on Facebook today. But in the meantime, support us and take part in the show at patreon.com/Westlife. A couple of new members this week. Shouts to Noons who joined us this week. And subscribe on YouTube if you come across this on the YouTubes somehow for whatever reason. Then, subscribe, like, and join us for the live shows. Usually Monday, Thursdays. It'll be Tuesdays this week and next week, as we've got a couple of special guests coming on. I didn't promise. I said that we're possibly getting in this week, but we're going to get a couple of guests on next week. I'll get to those in a second. And but my co-host, Rob Bashara, is with us this evening. He has got the good inside mail that John Morris is going to coach the West Tigers from next year. But Rob, how was your weekend of no West Tigers rugby league? It was pretty good state of origin to watch it, at least.
Yeah, the game was good. Well, at least for the first half, it was pretty close. State of origin, we got away with it pretty comfortably in the end, especially after that sin bin. Took a bit of juice out of the Queenslanders. We got into the news Saturday night, obviously, with the Serraldo declining the coaching position Saturday. So we quite didn't have a Tigers-free weekend, which kind of made things a little bit juicy on Saturday night, Sunday. But yeah, it was okay. It wasn't too bad. We had a lot of Tigers talk today, obviously, and yesterday. But we'll just see what the club is going to do now that they've missed their man that they wanted.
Yeah, it was a weird one. We'll start with that. Obviously, the Cameron Serraldo saying no, and the club coming out with a statement letting everyone know that he said no and that we missed our man. It was weird, Rob. Obviously, we don't follow, or I don't follow other clubs' media at all. But it's weird for someone to announce that you didn't get a coach. You miss on a signing. Like, is it weird? Or was that just me?
I look at it two ways. I thought it was really weird. I don't think any other club's gone about it like that before, releasing a statement about it. Probably shows you how close they thought they were to getting Serraldo. I don't mind. I mean, it's a bad look on the club. I accept that. I don't mind the transparency on it, for want of a better term, or letting us know where we're at with that. But I just still think we went after him so publicly. No matter what you thought about Cameron Serraldo, because I know a lot of people thought, rookie coach, 5-year deal's too long. Some are for it, some are against it. But if we're meant to trust our brains trusts in who they want, hang on a sec, Josh. I've just got
the man.
Yeah, he's
the star of the show.
He's on a boat and his phone won't work.
He's on a boat.
Yeah, he's on a boat. His phone won't work. He's just sent me a message now. Anyway,
so,
I don't know what he's sending me more stuff.
Great. This is great radio.
He'll call when he gets back on the Wi-Fi. So he will get back to us.
Okay, cool.
During the show. But anyway, what I was going to say.
Tune back in at 3 a.m. when Trippa wants to come back on, living it up in Mykonos in the middle of summer. How good. But keep going.
Yeah, so with Serraldo, guys, all I'd like to say, we've gone hard at the board and Lee and Justin and all that sort of stuff. But like I was trying to say, whatever you think of Serraldo, we should all be upset that we didn't get him, just because that's what the club wanted. So I'm disappointed for the club, because whether it's a week away from getting a coach or 4 weeks away from getting a coach, we're still in limbo now. So that's the disappointing part of it. Hopefully, they've got a better plan, for next guy, or at least they'll keep it more quiet and not be so open. But I've got a lot of guys telling me that, hate to say it, but like within the walls, telling me that Morris is going to be the guy, and the right people within the club want Morris. So I know this news has come out today about Kamali. That would be based on the 2 games we've played, that would be one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. We lost to Manly 30 points to 4 without Tom Trebojevic and Daly Cherry Evans, their 2 best players. And then we lost, the last game we played 36 to 12 to Canterbury, who were wooden spooners by 8 points last year. So if we really got rid of Madge to appoint Brett Kamali, and like I say, it's only on 2 games. It's nothing against Brett Kamali personally, because I just think the players have just kind of, for want of a better term, turned it up a little bit. The intensity's not there. But I just can't believe they would actually consider going with Brett Kamali. And he's really been thrown in the deep end. Like, it's not fair to him, but for the media to come out and say he's the favourite to get the job, I think it's an absolute crock of shit. So, I hope they don't go down that path. I think Morris ticks all the boxes out of the candidates that are, in the market. So hopefully we go with that. What I would like to say, though, Josh, in terms of how we've handled it, and this is where the club has to be better, and it's ironic we're talking about John Morris. If you go back to Cronulla last year, when they did get rid of John Morris, they got rid of him after round 5. They blew a big lead against the Roosters. They're up 16-0 with like 20-odd minutes to go. They lost 24 to 16 at the SCG. By the Tuesday, they'd parted ways with Morris. They'd alerted their players that Morris was sacked. The next day, Fitzgibbon was announced as coach and Josh Hannay was announced as interim coach. Bang, 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 all done within 24 hours. No mess, no nothing. Now, if we were planning to get Serraldo, or anybody for that matter, we really should have had that person in our keeping before we got rid of Madge, because it is a bad look. I mean, we didn't sack Madge till 10 days after the previous game. Then we put Kamali. Then we've said, we're going to, speak to a few different candidates. And then all of a sudden, a week and a half ago, it was all in on Serraldo. Then we gave him a deadline. As soon as we gave him a deadline, I'm like, whenever we give a deadline, it doesn't work out in our favour. It means we've lost him. And then Tim Sheens comes out after that and says Cameron Serraldo can take all the time he wants. It's just not a good look from us, guys. So I don't know. I've kind of always thought, Josh, that if you want to take the Tigers job, it's actually a coach killer. The way we've handled it now, if a coach came to our club and failed, I actually don't think they're going to blame the coach too much. I think they're going to blame the people above them, because we have really handled it poorly, and I am playing the man a bit, but I hate to say it, it's just amateur hour again, mate. It was really a terrible look.
I know people. I know people on social media. I mean, 99% of people that message you, because obviously we're tagged in it
Yeah.
often as well, is like, can you lay off the board and management for just a second? But it's like, I mean, firstly, this week there's no football to talk about, but it's what, what can we do? Like, it's just they just keep fumbling through all these, whether it's a player, a coach, like it's just compared to other clubs. Again, as I said earlier in the show, maybe we just watch West Tigers closer, but it just seems like we do things totally different to how other clubs run the show. Like Nick Politis or any other team owner, Russell Crowe, you never really hear anything, maybe a little bit of media speculation or something, but it's all hush hush. But um, yeah, did you want to share the bit of goss that you heard about the fine dining today?
Oh no, just someone's just I can say it. Someone told me
Yeah,
that Tim Sheens and Justin Pascoe were having lunch at Grappa restaurant at Leichhardt today. So shouts to Grappa, love your food.
Adam Dway's favorite, Robbie Farah and Adam Dway's favorite
Yeah,
restaurant as well.
everyone's favourite place. That's why everyone goes there. And they were with two reporters who I can't confirm 100% who those reporters were. I kind of sent a sarcastic message to Michael Shamus, like, how was Grappa today? And he politely replied, "You got the wrong capital MC," which I'd assume that means Michael Carianis was there instead of Michael Shamus. I assume Carianis was there. I don't know who the other one there. Look, maybe it's a bit of, like PR to kind of like just talk positively about us instead of the coaching gossip stuff. I don't know, but yeah, so they were there again. On what you said, Josh, like I actually wrote this down, because when I had that communication with Lee, which has been much publicised now, when it actually got constructive and not personal, like I sort of said, you guys keep shooting yourselves in the foot. Well, this whole coaching thing, we've shot ourselves in the foot again. Like we just look so bad. If I can just read out his quote, so I wrote it down. He goes, "I do not agree that the club continuously shoots itself in the foot. We've made mistakes in the past. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. It's easy. It's easy for others to sit back and pass judgment on decisions that have not resulted in the outcome we've hoped for. All that means is that we will try harder and move forward." And if I can just read what I wrote down so I get this right, because I think it's really important. Just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean you're going to fix it up properly the next time. So I've just written this down. I want to get it right. Hindsight doesn't create foresight. Recognizing after the fact what you should have done doesn't mean that you'll make the correct decision next time. Foresight comes by analyzing what happened and turning it into a strategy that gets you to do something different next time. So basically, I just think we should be getting it right next time. We should have got it right now. We bungled up Madge 9 months ago with, are we sacking him? Are we not sacking him? It went all public. We look bad. And now we've just made another public embarrassment. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world that he knocked it back. It's not about that. It's about how it played out in the media. And then Justin Pascoe coming out, on the news a couple of days earlier, saying, I believe in the direction that the club's going. And then, and our core product is a football, what we do on the footy field. And then a day later, Serraldo says, I'm not going to you guys. Like, it was like he was almost trying to do a last minute hard sell publicly to come to us. And anyway, look, we're just getting a bad rap from every angle. We need a coach ASAP. I hope it's John Morris. That's what I'm being told. The right people within the club want Morris. When I did speak to Lee 9 months ago in our only phone call, I know these things change, obviously, but at the time he said they weren't interested in Flanagan. So unless someone's changed their mind and said, hey, you need an experienced coach or something like that, I doubt that they're even going to look at the Flanagan thing. Christian Wolf's been popped up today. Apparently he's rejected the Warriors. He's done some good things. I hear good things about him. I don't know much about him, but everyone rates him really highly. I don't know which way we're going to go, mate, but I'm being told it's going to be John Morris, and he seems to be the logical choice for me.
Yeah, I think maybe some young blood would be good. apparently he's pretty popular with players. Look, for me, I haven't got a clue about the X's and O's and which coach is better because, I mean, you don't see. I guess you can kind of analyze it if you look at the game and study it enough. You might see the different things, and there were things about Madge, but his substitutions and um, yeah, management of the bench and that sort of thing. I always found odd, but it was like, okay, he's the coach. He must have a reason behind it. But when it comes to our next coach, I just want someone that the players that we're going to keep like, and he's well liked amongst the league, that he gets some better cattle because we need better cattle. So we need a cowboy, not yeah. That doesn't mean necessarily. Well, Todd Payton would be nice, literally a cowboy, but yeah, I
Well,
think
I
John
guess
Morris, from all reports, he's pretty popular, and I think someone young who can relate to the team might work better than Madge. I'm starting to come around to the fact that Madge um, wasn't right for the job, but as we said a couple of weeks since now, probably should have been done at the end of last year. The fact that they've done it, let him go for another half year. Um, it can only be a financial thing. They wanted to pay him 18 months and not 2 years. But yeah, it's just
Well,
who knows?
the positives with John Morris, Josh, and I've said it before on the pod. You look at all those young Cronulla players, like their forwards, like Hamlin, Ueli, and Hunt, Nakora, even their backline, Kennedy, Katoa, Mulatalo. They've got so many young guys that have come through they've come through John Morris, and really what John Morris lacked last year was he lost, like a couple of years earlier, he lost his Paul Gallons, he lost his, Luke Lewis's. Wade Graham was in and out of concussion, so he lost a bit of that experience, and they needed like a couple of experienced guys and a cool head to make them better. And I'm not saying that it's not because of Craig Fitzgibbon. Like, I'm sure Craig Fitzgibbon's helped him in some way, but the fact that they got Finucane and they got Cam McInnes and they got I mean, he's not an experienced player, but a cool head like Nico Hines. I mean, they're probably the missing ingredients they had. But you look at the rest of the team, and it's a pretty young team. And he was around when all that happened. So if we do get these juniors coming through, then he probably would be the right guy for that sort of stuff. But that said, Josh, we've lost. We've lost Tedesco, we've lost Moses, we've lost Pappenhausen. So
Yeah,
I don't think it's all about having the juniors come through. We're just got to make sure that the Melbournes and the Roosters don't pick the eyes out of it. The negative on John Morris is they reckon he couldn't attract players, which would just be, pretty funny considering, the talk was Madge couldn't attract players. But the way we're going, you're starting to wonder, is it the coach that can't attract players, or is it above the coach that people don't want to come? Because we went hard. We couldn't sell a vision to Cameron Serraldo. So this is why I start wondering, do we, at least with the CEO, do we need a new look? Like, we're starting to get this stigma now that no one wants to come near us. If we couldn't talk a coach that's never had a job before into a 5-year deal, what chance have we got of getting gun players? So it's just going to have to come from within, a bit like 05, as we've discussed before, with the Benjis and Robbies and Fultons and Hinos and all those sort of guys. So, yeah, I don't know what, who we're going to go with, but I'd like to think Morris is the best choice out of what's out there at the moment. I'm not a fan of Flanagan. I wouldn't want Paul Green or Jeff Tuvey myself, but whatever the club wants, we've got to support. That's the bottom line. It's just a shame they miss Serraldo, because that's obviously who they pin their faith on.
friend of the show, Carla, just said Lodge signed with the Roosters. Did that just happen? I hadn't heard that.
It must have. I never saw it prior to the show, so that must be breaking.
There you go. Someone else asked a couple. There's a couple. If you want to lay any questions on us in the comments, guys, we'll try and get to them as we're waiting for Mr. Tripadina to find some Wi-Fi over in Mykonos. Why would you want Morris over Flanagan? Look, the Flanagan, it's just the stink over. Still a bit of stink over him for mine, but I could be wrong. He could be good for the club and attract players and develop players better than John Morris. I honestly don't know. What about you, Rob?
It's exactly what you said. That's the only reason. I've got no knock on his football brains or football ability or anything he's achieved in the game. But yeah, it's just that cheater stench that, you know, we're meant to be one of the, for everything else we do wrong, we're meant to be nice guys of the comp. And I just think, you know, all that peptide stuff or whatever, it's just not a good look myself. But, you know, I wouldn't lose sleep if he, I mean, look, we're desperate for success. So, you know, I've probably said it before, we take Lucifer as coach right now, but, you know, Flano would be the closest thing to that at the moment in rugby league terms, wouldn't it? But like, I don't mind some of his commentary on TV. So he obviously knows what he's talking about. And he took Cronulla from 14th or thereabouts within a few years to a premiership. So no knocking on his coaching ability. I just think it's, what do we get with it? Do we get Kyle Flanagan with it? Do we get all this the bad stuff associated with it? I don't know. And I don't have the answers for that. I just want whoever the club wants and gets, I just want to support that, you know, that coach. As I said to you earlier in the day, Josh, I just miss buying the big league and the rugby league week and looking at the teams and having a read and just being a supporter. And that's just what I want to get back to, not this, you know, this rubbish and the rut that we're in right now.
Yeah. Supporter, not a member.
I said supporter.
Yeah, I know.
Very general.
Adam on YouTube, only upwards from here, hopefully. New center of excellence will help. Just need to lock up a decent coach. With Appy and Pap coming next year, look, like, yeah, I mean, I've still got hope for next year with those two guys coming. I mean, you can't be much worse than what we are now. I think we'll definitely be better next year. But the thing is, we need to get a coach. They've said they're not going to do anything about the guys coming off contract until the coach makes a decision. So they don't want to sign any contracts, and then the coach to come in and say, "Why'd you say Adam? You signed Adam Dwayhe on a 5'8" money, but I only want to play him in the centers, and Jackson Hastings play him at lock." So they want the coach to work out, who plays where, and therefore how much money should we offer them. So,
well, that's fair enough, Josh. That's fair enough.
Anthony on YouTube, how long should the contract be signed for?
3 years.
Do you make it? Yeah, 3 years. If he makes the top 8, he gets an extension, or put an incentive in there or something.
Yeah, look, unless you're literally getting the best coach in the game, like a Bellamy or someone like that, I don't think any coach really shouldn't get more than 3 years, because you're just going to be paying out contracts. And, you know, if you go back 10 years ago, we had to pay, you know, Sheensy not much short of $1 million to pay him out. And I think we were paying for 3 coaches at one stage when we only had 1 coach. So we don't want to get into financial trouble over the coach, but you've got to give the guy enough time. And look, to be fair, we gave Madge 3.5 years, but it just felt like it was 2 years and another extension. And it was a little bit of a mess. I think we're a little bit of a development club in the front office, to be honest. We really haven't got our act together up there, and it shows in the rest of the club, unfortunately.
Carla says she reckons a more experienced coach would work better because they can deal with management. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you don't want them to come in and be a puppet for him, but I mean, Madge was pretty experienced, and yeah, I mean, for all accounts, he dealt okay with management, but from what I've heard, there was a lot of disagreements in the journey with him as well. Any thoughts on that, Rob?
Yeah, well, not that everyone's a fan of, you know, NRL 360, obviously, but David Ricciardo is pretty close to Tim Sheens. And he did say that Sheens kind of stayed away from the coaching stuff because Madge is that sort of guy, like it kept him away from it. He seems to think that Sheens would like to be a bit more involved with the team, which, to be fair, I think he's probably involved with it now, because I'm not a fan of the team we've picked. If we're really looking down this development path, to be playing, you know, a few guys that aren't going to be there next year, and, you know, say leaving Jock Madden totally out or Jake Simpkin totally out, I don't think that's really trying to develop your current squad or looking to the future or anything like that. So the other knock is, so Flanagan comes in, he'll do his own thing, and he'll probably, you know, tell Sheens, you know, mind your business, mate. But if you get someone like a John Morris, then I think Sheens would get a lot more input, and maybe that would cater to what Tim Sheens wants to do and have a bit of a nurturing effect on a coach. But I think Morris has got his own sort of miles up as well, because he has played, he's made the first week of finals at least. So I don't know. It's a tough one, Josh. I really don't know what we do here, but I do like the fact that John Morris is a former Tiger, and he was coached by Tim Sheens. So
the relationships.
The relationship should be good. He seems like a clean skin, so he's not a bad boy. He still looks like he could play, to be fair, and we need a hooker. It's all. I don't know. I really don't know where we go from here. I just want these guys to get their act together, get it done. Let's move on. Let's not bash each other. Let's have a team to support, because the way we played the last two games, Josh, the guys just did not look interested, and that's going to be the big question Sunday. I don't know what we're going to show against a Warriors team that's been pretty ordinary for quite a while now. So if we lose to them, having just lost to Canterbury by 24 points, I mean, it's not a good look for even attracting, potential players towards the club, because things were looking really good a couple of months ago. Like, I think there are a lot of people that thought, the Tigers are going to be going places next year. They've already made a couple of good signings. They've had back-to-back wins. And now just the wheels have fallen off. We just look terrible.
Poor Luck. Is Flanagan going to drug cheat, or is he like the Essendon football team, someone who took the wrong advice from a man who fooled everyone over the legality of peptides? If I remember correctly, the one guy was behind both clubs. He's not a chemist. He's a coach who put his faith in the wrong people. What was his name?
Probably, isn't it Trent Robinson's brother? Someone confirm that. I'm pretty sure it was. Or at least it was.
I had the name on the tip of my tongue before. Let us know in the comments. I'm trying to think what the guy's name was.
Surely someone will remember it.
Yeah, but both of them, because James Hurd, I believe, was Essendon coach.
Yeah, he was. He was Essendon at the time. And it had a major effect on him. I mean, the bloke nearly took his own life after it. Like, he's literally the number one favourite player in Essendon history. Like Essendon Bomber history. And Golden Boy came back to coach him, and then for all that to happen, it went pear-shaped. But yeah, I mean, to what he's saying there, I mean, is he a cheat or isn't he a cheat? It's probably a bit of both, to be fair. Like, if you give someone if you tell them someone's going to get an advantage if they take these sort of things, and you haven't really done your research, and it's part of the no-nos on what you can and
that's it. Take. Dank. I knew it was.
Oh, Stephen Dank.
Yeah, Stephen Dank. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, but I think also there's something to do with Trent Robinson's brother in all this. I don't know. I don't know what the connection is right now, but I'm sure he had something to do with it too. Because they tried to put a bit of shit on Trent Robinson, and it never stuck, obviously.
Stephen on Facebook, I would like to see the Tigers make a serious play for Angus Crichton. We have lost 3 back rowers. We did, didn't we? We had a serious cracking.
Yeah, if the Roosters can't keep him, we will. I'd say will be a big chance of getting him, and if that happens, then suddenly we've got half a pack that we've bought that we didn't have this year in terms of, Coruscant and Papali'i and Crichton. That'd be massive news. And then we just have to add a little bit to it. And suddenly if we've got a competitive pack, we're halfway there.
But we're not going to make any signings until we sign a coach, until a coach is picked.
Well,
for next year.
Josh, at the end of the day, as much as I don't like, how our brains trust go about things, we didn't get him. We didn't get the man we want. So what can we say? If things worked out the way they wanted, Ciraldo would have said yes last week. And I think I told you the week before that I thought we'd announce a coach within a week. Like, I was pretty sure they were going to, be close to getting Ciraldo, and just didn't work out. Like, I mean, okay, whether they've bungled the negotiations up or couldn't sell the vision or whatever, what can we do now? We do have to move forward and just, go to our second choice. But we just look silly. Imagine going to John Morris and trying to, make him or, try and entice him to be our coach, with him knowing the fact that he was always a second choice, as opposed to having 4 or 5 candidates, present their CV, go through everything, go through a process, do it like every other club does, and then just say, okay, we're going with such and such. And, we thought Cameron Ciraldo's, CV looked better, and we've decided to go with him, as opposed to making it so clear and cut and dried that you're not our first choice, John Morris or Shane Flanagan or anyone like that. So I don't know, Josh. It's just I just want to get this thing out of the way and start building for next year, because Sunday doesn't mean anything to me. It's a rubbish game.
Atheist Dingo on YouTube. Todd Payton was lineup coach about 6 years ago. It was a massive whinge about the good old clubs and was rejected. FMD.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, through the whole, there was that like weird period when Robbie, Benji, like it was just this break off for whatever reason, and just from the club legends, and they're starting to try and build that bridge back up. So obviously Robbie and Benji returned, and they're working with the club now. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I mean, to go back to when the club's culture was at its best, like just watching. If you didn't catch our episode last Thursday, reminiscing about our favorite wins, just going back and watching highlights for that, and just watching the team that loved playing with each other, like it's playing football with each other. They it just it just clicked, and that culture and the fun in the footy. I know Kamali got hammered for it, but he said he wants to make the boys smile again or something in his press conference, and you kind of get what he's saying there. Like they're just for whatever reason they're just not clicking. And Scano said it when he talked to us about that episode on Thursday, that there was just something just clicked. They were just in sync with each other. We just need to get that back, and surely the best way to do that is to bring in those guys, as many of those guys as you can. Like I know Paddy Richards is starting to work with the team. Obviously a few of them are working with other clubs and that sort of thing. But and there is. I'll let that lead into our two guests on Monday night. Tuesday. The boys that are coming on Tuesday night, they couldn't do Monday. Shane Walker, who's been on the show before, so obviously former West Tigers player and Balmain as well. He is lining up none other than New South Wales Kangaroo and Balmain Tiger and a couple other clubs, but we won't mention those. Timmy Brasher. So, they're attending the race day, the West Tigers Legends race day on Sunday, amongst other. Shane was telling me a few other former teammates of his that are heading to that on Sunday. You can buy tickets to that. Go to the West Tigers website. Who said we don't help out the club? Well, trying to sell tickets for them. PR. I saw they posted it on Twitter the other day. If you go to westtigers.com.au, it's $245 a head or something.
$270.
$275. Free beer and feed and that sort of thing. But it's Balmain and Magpies. So any player that's played for Balmain or West Tigers is invited. So yeah, there's some of the a lot of the 2005 team will be there, obviously. So it'd be cool to hear from Shane and Timmy Brasher, Rob. Like I absolutely idolized the guy growing up as a kid in the mid 90s, and I think that might have been my first heartbreak as a Tigers fan when he left. Like I still remember going to, because I was playing at Parramatta Stadium. I went to his last game there because they were the Sydney Tigers, and seeing. I still remember there were two ladies. Maybe they listen to the show. Who knows? It's a small world. There was two ladies out on the field at halftime with a sign that said "Brash, don't leave us." I will never forget that, and just been absolutely heartbroken that he went to. Was it Rabbitohs or Cowboys that he went to first?
He went to Rabbitohs.
Rabbits and Cowboys, wasn't it? And to go to the Rabbitohs, like, man, of all the clubs, it's my most hated club as a kid as well. Like I was just shattered, absolutely shattered, emotionally scarred for years. And then But luckily, West Tigers and the Balmain Tigers never did that again. They didn't let my favourite players go to other teams, did they? So maybe it was toughening me up for harder times. But yeah, any memories of Timmy Brasher, Rob? Obviously,
Oh,
you
gosh.
you'd remember he's coming on as a high schooler in his debut years.
Yeah, well, he did his HSC in the year of the second grand final that we played in as Balmain team, 1989, and he was a household name. He excelled at Origin, could play fullback, centre, or wing, and really when he signed with South, as far as I was concerned, that was the official beginning of the end of Balmain. Like even though it was another few years down the track, we just couldn't. He was like our last hope, and the rest of the team was just no sort of star status or anything like that. And yeah, it's just a pity he left. And I think even that signing when he signed with South, I think somehow we bungled it up on the last day. Like I think the money was there, but we got something wrong in the negotiations, and then he ended up signing with South. So it was just it was a bit of a nightmare period. We hadn't made the final since 1990. We made a semi-final the year after the grand final, and it was kind of rough times. We had the Alan Jones era, which was pretty poor. And yeah, I actually don't remember too much about the mid-90s. I think I've tried to wipe most of it out of my memory, and unfortunately, 89 keeps and 88 keeps sort of overriding and sticking out most in my memory.
And as joining us a little bit later, how are you tonight on a Tuesday evening? As thanks for joining the show. We're still waiting on Trippa to find some internet in Mykonos, but yeah, how are you on this? Yes, I'm assuming it's a holiday, Rob. But
I can't
how are
believe
you?
he rang me. I can't believe he rang me from Mykonos yesterday saying, I won't use the language he said, but he was just going off. And after about 10 minutes, I said, mate, do you want to come on the pod? And he goes, yeah. He goes, when are you doing it? And I said, 1:30 your time tomorrow. And he goes, yeah, I'll be ready. Lock me in, blah, blah, blah. So, but I can't believe if you were on holidays on the Greek islands, would you be really thinking about the West Tigers? So that's how passionate the bloke is.
Well, there's a lot of ruins in Greece that would remind me of the West Tigers at the moment.
Yeah, probably.
Look at the all the bloody smashed concrete everywhere in Athens. That that's pretty much the West Tigers at the moment. But how are you tonight on a Tuesday night?
Yeah, not too bad. Had a day off work today, but yesterday got informed that I had a meeting I had to attend in Bathurst, so had to drive, go to the meeting, come home, all on my day off. But well, I get paid 3.5 hours for it, so I shouldn't complain too much. Now to enjoy the rest of my night and spend it doing the rest of the show with you guys. So
yep. Thoughts on the likeliness we've heard that John Morris will be coach. Thoughts on Johnny Morris?
I mean, I'm not sold on either him or Flanagan, but I'd take him over Flanagan.
Yeah, a couple of people have. It's pretty mixed in the comments. A few anti-Flano and a few pro. What's your reasoning for that?
I just feel like there's a bit too much of the negative press around what happened with Flanagan while he was at the Sharks or the year after they won the premiership. Morris, he never did great things with the Cronulla squad, but in saying that, his first and only 2 seasons there, he got a sort of below par team into the finals both times. So I feel like he's got the ability. He's just still a little bit too green for my liking, considering the mess that the club's in. Needs someone who really knows their shit.
Can beggars be choosers, though?
Exactly. That's why I'd prefer him over Flano.
Yeah, Aaron, I was just going to say, who if you could pick one coach out of the guys that are available, who's your number one choice? Would it be Wolf or someone like that? Who would you go for?
It's really bloody tough.
I'm only saying that because you said you prefer Morris over Flanagan, but I thought you might have someone else that you prefer. I mean, I know I want the club to throw the house at Cooper Cronk, but that's not going to happen.
I had a thought maybe about a month or so ago, not long before Madge actually got sacked, maybe Tuvey. I don't know what he'd be like as a coach nowadays in the modern game, whether the modern game would suit him or not, but I thought maybe he could potentially be an option. But other than that, I didn't really think there was anyone else that we could or should go after. At the time, I was obviously still pretty firmly on the Madge bandwagon, thinking that he should get the rest of the season at least with these guys, but it is what it is.
What did you think of Serraldo, Az? Were you a fan of Serraldo coming, or what did you? And I'll give you a second part to that. What did you think of how he handled it?
I didn't mind Serraldo too much. Obviously, I had the same concerns over him that I had with Morris being very green. Obviously, he's a lot greener than Morris because he hasn't had a head coaching gig before. But obviously, the players at Penrith in particular hold him in very high regard. I think the way the club handled the Ciro stuff was an absolute bloody mess. Why would you go and say, oh, yeah, we've got this in the bag, he's going to be our coach, only for the media to then, not that long later, turn around, do an article and say, he said no. Like, why would you...
Yeah, we're trying to work that out.
At least act like you have a clue.
Yeah. Righto. We'll move on to... So, obviously, Thursday, there'll still be an episode on Thursday, and we'll talk about the team list came out today, and we'll talk about the game on Sunday, Thursday. But the Brooksy... I'll bring up the Brooksy thing because, I mean, it came out... How did it come out in the media that he was dropped in a week that there wasn't even a game, so it wasn't a team list, and then he's picked again? Rob, like, again, WTF? Like, it's only our club with this shit going on. Like, I mean, is it the club's fault? I mean, no one officially at the club said it, did they?
I think this is one we might not blame on the club. Like, most likely within the club has said Brooks won't play next week or next game. But, you know, how do we really blame the club when the media write whatever they feel like? Like, for even them to say today Brett Camorley is favourite out of 4 people to be coach, I call absolute bullshit on that, and I told you why earlier. So I just think I've realised now, having watched 360 again tonight, just how much we bite, how much interest there is in the West Tigers, how big a fan base we are, because basically over 20 minutes of that in 2 different segments of an hour show was dedicated to the West Tigers. So they just always want to keep us in the news. So whether that Brooks thing was done just for clickbait or not, or whether there was any truth to it, I don't know. But we need that coach to be there to decide, what are we doing next year with our halves? Who's going to be there? As I said earlier, if we're truly a development club, you know, why aren't we playing Jock Madden, for example? And, you know, we'll get on to Dwayhe, I suppose, a bit later. But, like, why the hell's Dwayhe on the bench? Like, if he needs more game time, play him in Magpies. And if you still want to play this stupid way of doing it now by bringing him off the bench, you could have dropped Brooks and played Jock Madden and then bring Dwayhe on when you feel like it. I don't know. Could there be a late switch and Adam starts the game on Sunday perhaps? Or is Adam going to come on early and Brooks moves to hooker and New Brown comes off? There's so many permutations that they can do, but I just don't like this. Oh, we've got to ease Adam back into it. Ease him back into it. Put him in New South Wales Cup. Like, just put him, you know, get him. If it's about match fitness, have it as match fitness. If you're trying to win a game, if you're trying to win 2 competition points, please play your best player. Like, don't jerk us around. But, you know, they're trying to say we're worried about his knee, blah, blah, blah. He needs more time. And just like I said, play him in lower grades. When he feels tired, he puts his hand up and he comes off. And when he wants to go back on, he can go on for another stint. It's just, you know, like, we brought him on at 24-6 against Canterbury. The game was over. What did it actually achieve? So it just proved that this year means nothing. And we're just going around for the sake of it. Every match is a dead rubber. It's really frustrating, mate. So how can I get excited about Sunday when we're not really, like it's a pretty bad accusation. But the truth is, we're not treating winning seriously anymore. We aren't. Otherwise, you'd start him. You don't carry an outside back on the bench.
It's odd, and there's no hooker on the bench either.
No, which makes me think that Brooks will shift into that dummy half role, because suddenly New Brown's gone from playing 20 to 25 minutes a game. I don't think they'll expect him to bat out 80 minutes. So, yeah, you'd think Brooks is going to be switching, a lot earlier. Like, I actually think Adam's going to come on in the first half. That's how I would see it. He'll come on after about 25 minutes, because there's no way New Brown should have the legs to be able to go for 80 minutes. I hope I'm wrong, because I love New Brown. I'd love him to be starting hooker for the rest of the year, but I just can't see him batting out 80 minutes.
As thoughts on this whole Brooksy saga?
Yeah, I wouldn't blame this one. The media beat up, I wouldn't blame that on the club, but I agree with everything Rob said. Why, if he's going to be dropped, why not just drop him? Why have Duahi on the bench? It's just, the whole thing's a mess. The team list's a mess. Everything's a mess. It just doesn't bode well for the rest of the season if this is the kind of crap that's just going to get tossed up to us every week. I feel like he probably deserves to be dropped. Give him a week or two in reserve grade, because he's had some absolute shockers against the Rabbits and against the Dogs. But I have a feeling that the reason why they're not doing it is because of the salary he's on. Like, why would we? I think Cleary did it with a couple players, but massive salaries, you wouldn't want to have them in reserve grade, because obviously that's just eating into your cap. But in saying that, I feel like he's got to have a few weeks out, because he just needs to find some form again. He's kicking him out on the full too much, for one thing. There's not a lot else to say. He just needs a bit of a break from first grade, because he just isn't getting it.
The only thing with playing Brooksy, look, I think it's pretty obvious that the club's trying to ship him off to another club next year. And if he's playing reserve grade, his sale price is just not going to go anywhere. Whereas he plays first grade and just hope that he has a blinder eventually and convinces some other club to go, oh, okay, maybe we can throw 400, 500K and give him a crack. If he plays in the Magpies, no one will buy him. Like, they're not going to pick up whatever the salary is. There's someone said in the comments earlier, the figure on his salary next year is different depending which journalist is writing the article. But the more money we get back on him is determined by how he plays the rest of the year. So I guess it's just like saying, come on, Brooksy, like trying to, what's it called? Get oil out of a rock, whatever that bleed. What's that saying? Get oil from. Yeah. Anyway, someone will help me out in the comments.
Well, blood out of the stone.
Blood out of the stone. That's the one. Blood out of the stone. Or I don't know where I got oil from.
But Josh, I think Brooksy showed enough against Para and South in those back-to-back wins, and at other times in parts what he can do.
Behind a good forward pack, especially.
Yeah, like and I'll just look. And Brooksy had an absolute shocker against Canterbury. It's not even close to being just a below-average game. It was a shocker. But let's be fair, he had 6 or 7 mates. And even our best players, whether they're injured or not, you can't say that those players were playing like that 6 weeks ago. And that's from our best player down, like from Jackson Hastings onwards. So, if they were going on their value to, on what they showed the last couple of weeks, Jackson Hastings wouldn't be on what he should be earning, So I just think we've got to make a decision. If this is our best team and the way they think our best bench should look, I'm disappointed. I don't know. I just think you can't hedge your bets with the team. We're either trying our best to win, or we're looking to next year and we're developing all the kids. Like, it's great Fanua Pole's going to get a game. That's wonderful. But, why have we got Garner and Tuolungi there if they're off next year? Just if we're allowed, unless there's some sort of restriction and we can't play everyone there, I'd rather get flogged by 50, but at least these guys are getting some experience for next year, than playing blokes, for nothing. Like, what are we playing them for? We get no benefit out of it.
I agree with what Brock has said here. He's touching the ball too much. That's the problem. Hastings is injured and isn't
He's right.
performing his best. Yeah. So Brooksy was playing at his best when Hastings was touching the ball literally 100 times a game, and Hastings just didn't.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with the rest, maybe he'll have a little bit more workload this week. But we want him to do well, but just
Well, Brooksy's been like our prime handler again, so he's basically
Yeah.
a number 7 again, and he hasn't worked as a number 7. So Brook is 100% right there. It's Hastings needs to be touching that ball, or Dwayne, whoever. But yeah, Brooksy first receiver, controlling a game management. It's not his strength, and we've proven it this year.
Good. Yeah, Jock Madden Mitchell on Facebook. The Jock Madden factor is a good reason to drop Brooksy. Like, got to give Jock's gonna leave if we don't. It's highly unlikely he's going to stay anyway because of the log jam. But yeah, I'd like to see him get a crack and show us more of what he's got. That I do agree with that. Go as
what they're trying to do. Yeah, sorry. What they're trying to do seems to be like a very high risk, low reward type thing, especially if they are trying to bump up his salary, hoping he has a good game. We're risking having how many games we got left? 10. We're risking having 10 more stinkers or 9 more stinkers just for Brooks to have one more good one to bump his salary up, or how much another club would be willing to pay for him. But in saying that, if he has one good game, he's got 9 other bad ones, and that's not going to do much for his salary or how much clubs would be willing to take off our hands anyway. So it seems to be on a hiding to nothing, basically, in my thoughts.
All right, Rob, do you want to see if you can find Trippa as we go over to?
I'll disappear for a sec.
Yeah. So the 5 captain. Obviously, this was a Madge thing. The 5 captains. It's just another embarrassing thing from this season. But Jimmy Tarmow will be the captain for the rest of the year. Do you think? I mean, I think it's the right thing going back to 1 captain. I don't think the 5 captain thing was always a dumb idea. I don't know how Madge ever came up with that. But look, it might be his last year. Would you prefer someone to take over the reins who's probably going to be here longer into the future rather than Jimmy?
I feel like Jimmy probably is the best solution for this year. Obviously, we all want Dwayne to have it long term, but we want him to focus on getting back to his best first. So having no pressure for the captaincy of a sinking ship on him this year will do wonders for him to hopefully have the responsibility next year, or shared responsibility with Jacko. That's kind of what I'm hoping. I agree that it needed to be done. We were memed into the absolute ground once the 5 captains was announced. I always questioned how it happened. Like, did they hold a vote between all the players, and did everyone who get votes just get a captaincy title, or however it might have worked? It just seemed stupid. And it never worked. Like, it was always a question of, who's your captain? I remember hearing in a few games earlier this season, the ref, when calling for a captain or when suggesting a captain's challenge, would be like, who's your captain? And it just turned into a bit of a mess, bit of a crap show. Like, we had that game in round 2 against the Knights where we had Peachy. I think he might have been the nominated captain for that game, and he shouldn't have been there to begin with. It just went stupid. I think Ivan tried the 5 captains thing at Penrith, or the 5 captain.
We did with us as well.
Call it. Yeah. It just never seems to work. At the very most, you want two co-captains and an extra player or 2 in the leadership group who isn't a captain but helps set the standard for those young blokes coming through. I feel like that's the way it should be done. So Yeah, stick with Tamo for the rest of this year. Hopefully, the way he gets some good experience for over the rest of the season, and hopefully he gets the C next to his name going forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's tough because Adam Dwayhe. Do you go with Adam or you go with Jackson in the future? And Jackson is injured, and Adam's coming back from injury. So I would have liked one of those guys to take over. But I mean, if Adam's not going to play 80 minutes, then and he's only just getting back, I kind of get why he's not. But what do you think, Rob, in this captain situation?
Firstly, Tripper is 10 minutes away, guys. So we
Okay,
will
sweet.
shortly. Yeah, look, I'm happy to go with Tamo as captain for the year, even if Adam's fit, and I'll explain why. This year is going and basically gone to shit. I think I'd like, no offense to Jimmy Tamo, but I'd just rather he has the C next to his name. We have the stench of 2022 finished with Tamo as captain, 75% chance of retiring. We announced Adam Dwayhe or Jacko or both as captains for next year. We've got a new look. We've got a fresh look. Hope we've got a new CEO as well while we're at it. But yeah, I just think we just need a fresh look, period. So if Adam's captain this year and we only win 1 or 2 out of our last 10 games, it just doesn't look good for next year. I think he is the captain. I think he's the captain material, but I'd definitely make him captain for 2023, or at least co-captains with Jacko. But keep him away from 2022 because he's not the reason we're in this position. He hasn't been there until our last game. He doesn't need to be associated with being captain of a team that just went so horribly badly this year. So yeah, definitely leave it with Jimmy, and especially if Jimmy's finishing up with the club, I think it's a way to go.
A couple of people in the comments that's an American football thing to have multiple captains. But yeah, American football, you have multiple teams. You have special teams, offense, defense. In rugby league, like the majority of the players play the whole entire game, every second of the game. So it's very, very different to have multiple captains because players literally go on and off the field in NFL. Whereas Adam and Jackson will play literally the whole game, every single minute of the game. Like obviously, unless they get injured, touch wood, as well. But yeah, I mean, you can't. If you got it from NFL, like that just sounds stupid as well. There's plenty of things. I love American sports, and there's plenty of things to learn from what the Americans do. Like I know Freddie Fitler, when he started coaching the Roosters, used to do the take a knee thing, which is very, very much an NFL thing. Like when the coach is speaking, everyone takes a knee. But but it doesn't make sense.
You'd think the game manager, Josh, would be the captain anyway. Like I'm just not a fan of people in other positions that aren't going to be on the field, especially for 80 minutes, like Jimmy Tamo being a captain in normal circumstances anyway. I think your halfback, like even your state of origin. I mean, I know Teddy was captain, but Nathan Cleary's the one deciding everything all game. Like your halfback is the most important player. So I just think, it's a bit like NFL. NFL, the quarterback is the captain of the offense. Like he's in charge of everything.
Yeah.
He's telling all the players in the huddle what's going on next play, et cetera, et cetera. So whoever our general is next year, if it's going to be Jacko at 7, then probably should be Jacko. But out of respect to Adam and the fact that Adam kind of tried to own the team last year in particular, I think there'd be nothing wrong with having them as co-captains. And Adam's a few years younger.
Two captains is fine.
Yeah, we've got a bit more longevity with Adam because he is a bit younger than Jacko as well.
Jacko's still only in his mid-20s, I believe.
Early 20s. Isn't he 23?
25 or 26 or something, I think he is.
Didn't you guys say he was 27 a couple of weeks ago on the show? That's why I said that. I'm sure someone said he was 26, 27.
I can Google it.
Because I think he was with the Roosters in 2014, maybe. So that's 8 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's kind of interesting too how 5, 6, 7 years ago, the captain of almost every team was a forward. Now I feel like it's probably closer to half and half. more often than not, it's a spine player who's the captain, which is probably the way it should be. And there's usually just like a forward leader who takes charge of the forwards, but
26. Thank you. People Googled for us.
But yeah, the rest of the team answers to the spine player who's the captain or something. I mean,
having Ken Mamalo as a captain, like a winger as a captain, like was odd. Like it was just. I mean, in hindsight, a lot of things that Madge did were odd to say the least. So
you had a winger as a captain. You had a bench player or a reserve player who had no idea what their role was most of the time as a captain as well.
And the guys not even playing first grade anymore. Righto, our junior blues. So Friday night, did you boys watch the under 18s Origin on? Was it Thursday? Yeah, because the girls on Friday.
Thursday,
Yep. Did you watch it? Watch the game?
I did.
I only saw. We were obviously we were recording at the time, but how did young Brendan Tumeth and Justin Manamua go as?
Both of them went pretty well. The first half, the team as a whole got off to a bit of a slow start in the first half, but towards the back end, just not long before they came off, they were both playing pretty well. I was liking what I was seeing from them, and that they had a really good second stint when they came back on as well. So it was really impressive and really good experience for them. And I did notice Matamua was named in the reserves this week as well. So hopefully he starts pressing for that debut by the end of the year as well.
Right, I can see Adrian is in. Just put a cap on this one for us, Rob.
Oh, mate, I didn't see the game. I only saw the girls' game on Friday night. As you said, we were doing the show, so I didn't see any of it, unfortunately.
Okay, I can hear. There's plenty of. I can hear the beautiful sounds of Mykonos, Greece, in summer. Adrian, have we got you there? Nope. Now I can't hear anything. Are you still there, boys?
Yeah. Hey,
Adrian.
Hey, mate. Is it too noisy where I am?
No, you're good. No, we can hear you loud and clear. There's probably going to be a little bit of a sound delay. But what are you doing over in Greece? That I have to say, I'm pretty goddamn jealous that bloody boring cold Sydney isn't quite as fun.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine. My family and friends tell me every day.
So what are your thoughts on the West Tigers at the moment? You're in the middle of the holiday and they're still stressing you out.
You there, Trippa?
Yeah, can you hear me? My internet here or my Wi-Fi probably is not very good.
Mate, don't move. Stick one leg up in the air and one arm up in the air, and do not move.
Okay, I'll sit down and stay here and see if that's better. Is that better?
Yeah. Clear as clear as day. Thoughts on the West. It's been a while since we haven't had you on for a while. Yeah. Thoughts on the West Tigers at the moment, Tripper? What have you got for us?
Well, I haven't listened to what you guys have been talking about, so I'm assuming everyone's just been talking about the same thing, and obviously the issue around the coaching and and that, is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, all depressing stuff.
All depressing stuff. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm overseas. And I log in every day and I look at the forum and I look at the news articles and so I'm kind of keeping up to breath with what's been happening. And it's probably like 99% of everyone out there has the same general feeling, which is that why did we act so publicly in chasing a coach that for me, again, and I'm sure most people would feel the same, like unless you had some sort of very strong inkling that he was going to want to join us, and maybe they did, maybe they heard from his manager, and again, I don't know because I'm not privy to those conversations, but unless they would have had like some sort of very, very strong indication that he wanted to come, why would you publicly announce that you were chasing him? And it just seems to be that whether it was Latrell Mitchell, Josh Adokar, you know, we've made things very public where I'm sure that the board or the CEO or the chairman thought that we had a very good chance of landing these people, and we seem to fall short. And so it's either a reflection on people doing the wrong thing by us and lying, right? Like, can that happen every time? I don't know because I'm not there. Or is it a reflection on the fact that the people who are responsible, and I don't know who it is because I don't know if it's a committee, I don't know if it's a board, I don't know if it's a chairman, I don't know if it's a CEO, I really don't know. I don't know if it's Tim Sheens, but whoever it is just maybe getting it a bit wrong. Either the strategy of, I'm sure they would have thought, you know, well, if we go out there publicly and say that we're doing a 5-year deal, does that mean that other clubs will stay away? Because like that, I'm sure they would have gone through every different scenario, right? But like, why would you have gone so public? And I just saw something from Justin Pascoe, again, where I'm overseas and I don't know the time delays, but I saw, you know, it was almost like 24 hours he was on the news saying that we've given a very compelling package to Cameron Seraldo, and then 24 hours later we get knocked back. It's just like, how do you read the room so wrong? Again, and how do we constantly get that wrong? And so now, how does any coach come on board after looking like not just second best, but like a clear daylight second best? So it's just, I don't know, like we're obviously in a weaker spot now. And yeah, I mean, everyone seems to have gone all in on Tim Sheens. Like if you speak to, like if you listen to the chairman or you listen to the CEO, no one, and again, maybe I've misinterpreted or I haven't heard things right, but from what I understand, they are saying that their accountability kind of stops with the performance on the team. They don't have any, there's no correlation between their accountability and the performance of our team, because that's what the coach does. And they're only responsible for making sure that the football club is viable and that they have enough money to go and spend money on the football department, whether that's the coach, having Tim there, having all these things. And so I guess my frustration is kind of, well, we've been through a lot of coaches. Success hasn't improved. They're telling us that they've got football competence. And at the end of the day, there is a direct correlation, because if the coach is responsible for the performance of the team and they're responsible for picking the coach, then indirectly or directly, depending on whether you want to be like how nuanced you want to be in your interpretation of like being involved, they do have a direct, there's a direct accountability to the performance of the team because they pick the coach. They could go pick a nobody off the street, but they're not going to do that because they want someone, whoever they think is going to be the best person to give us the best chance of success. So they're picking it, whether it's the board, whether it's a committee, whether it's Tim, whether it's the CEO, whether it's the chairman, someone is doing it, and we're just not getting it right. And I like the fact that Tim's there, but like we're all in on Tim Sheens. So if Tim Sheens is wrong, right, or he leaves or something happens, what does then the chairman and the CEO and the board say? Like, oh, well, we had Tim, and like, so again, I'm not involved in the conversations. I'm not involved in the day-to-day running of the club. I'm not like, people will say it's easy for people to be on the sidelines and have an opinion, especially when things go wrong and could you have done it better and everything. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm just like, when we've had sustained non-performance, there doesn't seem to be an accountability for management. And so how can that be? How can it just be the coach? That's like saying I have a business and I'm going to employ a general manager, and if the business doesn't go well, it's not my fault. Or like Lee's saying Lee's got a very successful legal practice. Imagine Lee was like, I don't have any legal knowledge, or have some, and I'm going to employ a general manager or a CEO who has all the legal expertise, but then all his lawyers have a win ratio of like 20% or whatever we have. Does Lee sit back and say, well, it's not the CEO's fault because the CEO has lawyers there that aren't doing the job? If the CEO is picking the lawyers, then obviously there is direct accountability at some level. It might not be like the CEO and the management might not be 100% accountable for the performance of the team, but are they 50%? Are they 30%? Are they 40%? Like there is that percentage. And so that's my only gripe is when they all say, well, we don't have any relationship to the performance of the team because we are just there to have to create as much financial support, to employ the best people. That's what they say. They're employing the best people, which they are, but they're picking them. Like, so now we don't have Cameron Serraldo. We're talking about a development coach, right? This whole narrative at the moment about the Tigers is all you can hear is pathways, development, blah, blah, blah. But as I was saying to Rob the other day, like we've won this Harold Matts thing once, right? I mean, I don't know what our juniors like, but every year before us, there have been some team that has won it, but you don't hear about all these other teams, whether that was the Sharks or Penrith or Para or whoever it was, or St. George, them saying we've got the best juniors coming through. But for us, we have 1 year with a bunch of 19-year-olds or whatever winning it, and all of a sudden we're set for the next 10 years. We just need to find a coach. It's like, but every other team has that every other year that we don't win it. And so I just think like, it's just this, I don't know where they go. And so I'm not like, people saying, well, it's great to have an opinion, but what's the answer? It's like, I'm not involved in the club, so I don't know. But like, obviously things aren't working there. We're not attracting, we've attracted Appy and Papali'i, but like, did they come for Madge? And now Madge is gone. I also don't understand that if we like Jackson Hastings as a player, and I really like Jackson Hastings, I think his performance has gone off the boil since the whole Madge thing, and the whole team has. But like, he came out and said that he doesn't want to play for any other coach except Madge. 2 weeks later, we sacked Madge and so I don't know, like I'm not there. Does that mean like Jackson's now he's going to walk? Is he going to stick around? We've now told all our players there that basically we're looking at a 3-year plan. And Tim said, but that doesn't mean that we're not trying to win it or come, make the 8 in the next year or two. That's great to say that. But you've basically told every senior player that we're looking for development pathways, growing the juniors. So why would a senior player who's got 3 years left to win a comp, why would they come to us? So I just, again, mixed messaging, sounds really good, but the performances speak for themselves. And so I just think now we end up with Josh. I mean, we didn't want to put Todd Payton in, and now everyone's like, let's get Todd Payton back. Like we rejected him to go for Madge. And so why would he come back to us? And now we're going to go with John Morris, who the Sharks got rid of, even though he did really well. And like, if you look at Bryce Gibbs' tweets, he's saying John Morris is the same as Todd Payton and he'll be very good. And maybe he will be. But like, we've got rid of Madge for John Morris. Like, I just don't know. And again, why it just comes back to that whole thing, like, why would you be so public about Cameron Serraldo unless you were like 99% sure he was gonna come? Like, we just left blowing in the wind. So I don't know. That's my rant.
Tripper, I said earlier, if you go back to Cronulla last year, they sacked John Morris on they announced Cameron Craig Fitzgibbon the next time. Like, why couldn't we?
Yeah. Because I just don't think we've got the competence to actually to kill a deal. I just think there's something going on where, like, it blows my mind, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know how they decide to. Someone's leaked it or whatever to say that we're going after Cameron Serraldo, and Justin to go on the news and say it's compelling, and then 24 hours later get rejected.
Yeah, it's awful.
There was a couple of people that were suggesting possibly. Don't know if you heard about it, Adrian. That
friend. And Lee, why would Cameron? Like, after Ivan Cleary's left the club, probably thinking that we're a basket case for whatever reason, and whether he's right or wrong. But why would Cameron come to us? Like, I just don't. Like, he's like the most sought after young coach. Why would he come to us?
Your reception's pretty bad.
Yeah, the reception started to drop out
again. Like, I just don't know what. Oh, okay.
No, you're back.
Yeah, you're back. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, all good. That's all I have to say, and it's probably no different to what a lot of other fans are thinking. I would imagine.
Just before we finish, Tripper, if you can hear me, I don't know if you heard about Lee's not overly happy with Rob lately. There's
Yeah.
a little bit of a back and forth going on.
Yeah.
But, what were your thoughts on that whole saga? And
Um,
do you think that could
look,
Do you think that surely that a couple of people have suggested it, but surely Cameron's wouldn't have affected the Cameron Serraldo rejection?
Look, I don't. I think nobody. One thing we all know is that nobody can say for sure because nobody knows except Cameron. But I can understand why Lee didn't want to come on the podcast. But I just think like writing that text message, like why would you want to get involved in the weeds? Do you know what I mean? Like why? You're a chairman. And it was such a long-winded, drafted text message that he said he was happy to share publicly. Just why? And I think a lot of people I've heard on the forums are like, but why does Lee have to rock up in a black Ferrari to the day that they sack the coach? Why? And again, I'm not the guy put.
Lost you again.
Oh, he was on a good one too.
He was. He'll be back. Tripper.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
We lost
Maybe.
you. We lost you, Tripper. We lost you after Black Ferrari.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Just give us what you said
so
after Ferrari.
After the Ferrari part.
No, so I said, look,
Oh, for God's sake.
It's like it's cutting out as soon as he gets to the good bit.
Yeah, it
The
is.
juicy bit.
is seen as being is seen as being, you know, subpar. I don't know. Like I'm not, but you look at the best run clubs and it's a pretty tight ship.
Yeah.
So, look, if we had success on the field, no one would give a shit, right? Lee and Justin and everyone, people would be congratulating them. So, you know, like I'm not saying that. I'm just like, you know, when things are bad, everyone's looking at the whole, the club as a whole, and you know, I just think compared to other clubs, we probably don't look the best. That's all.
That's very, very, very tame way of putting it. I think at the moment, Adrian, boys, any last words for or questions for Adrian before we end the show? We'll let him get back to sunbaking.
I've got one.
I'm gonna cop it from people I know for being a Mykonos, aren't I? Anyway, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of people that
Man, you can't.
Anyway, can't please everyone.
Oh man, they're haters. They're jealous. Like I know where I'd rather be. But as Aaron's got a question for you.
Yeah.
First of all, Tripper, I really enjoyed listening to your two rants last year. Really, really good quality. I heard that there was a rumor on NRL 360 tonight about Sheens being overruled by the board in regards to the decision about Madge. If that's true, do you think that has much of an impact on anything that's going on at the moment? I think it was Carla who posted it.
So what was the rumor is that Sheens didn't want to sack Madge, but the board wanted to sack him?
I think that's what Carla was saying. I caught a quick glimpse of her message. Rob, you'd probably know a bit more about that because I see you were chatting about it.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm sure Carla got it from a good source or stuff that I've heard from people that have spoken to Tim Sheens. That doesn't sound like Madge was fired. So I think Sheens was of the belief that Madge wasn't the right guy. He came out and said it publicly on the same day that Madge got sacked as well, something to the effect of, you know, round peg didn't fit in a square hole or vice versa. So I'm not sure that that's really got much credence. I'm of the belief, like Tripper said, that whatever Tim Sheens is saying, the board are going with. So if Tim Sheens had said Madge is to stay, I would have thought Madge would have stayed. whether it was just till the end of the year or whatever. But they all agreed that Madge had to go so the next coach could come in, have a look at the roster, decide which halves you wanted to keep, etc., and build a roster for next year as early as possible. So I think they had their mindset on Serraldo, and somehow they stuffed it up. As I said earlier, they probably should have signed before they sacked Madge and just done it in 24 hours, because either way we were going to look bad. Cronulla looked bad last year the way they got rid of Morris, especially after they made finals. No, there was going to be no pretty ending to it. It was going to be ugly no matter what we did. But the problem is we've missed our man. So, and we need our front office to be better than that. And
the whole thing just reeks of, I guess, ineptitude is probably one of the better words for it.
Yeah,
it is. It's almost like we talk about our players in terms of our playing roster being a development club. I think our front office is like a development front office. They're not fully there. They're not. I mean, they try as they might. No one's doubting they're not trying their hardest. But they like I said, Cronulla's not the Roosters or the Melbourne Storm. The Roosters and Melbourne Storm are the best two-run clubs over the last 10 years. Cronulla are probably a middle-of-the-road club. They've had their financial problems. They're probably just slightly above average in terms of where clubs sit. And look at how they handled that last year. It was just precision. Out on Tuesday, named on Wednesday. And we've totally suffered up. And you know, maybe Trippa's right. Maybe they thought 99% they had their man. I know a good friend of mine was at State of Origin, and he overheard one of the West board members say, "We've got Serraldo, like it's in the bag." So yet again, we've jumped. Actually landed.
But that's no different. That's no different when I had spoken to the guys when Nathan Cleary was supposedly coming, and they said he was 100% coming. Latrell Mitchell was 100% coming. Josh Adokar was 100% coming. Like, they're not signed. It's like anyone in business or anyone that, you know, whatever, like it's not signed until the paperwork's done. And even then, like, you know that people can still pull out if you make them unhappy, they can find a way. So there's just a way of managing and getting things done. And maybe Tim Sheen's, I mean, I don't know whether the board overruled him or not. You've got to remember that Tim Sheen's at the end of the day, and I don't know Tim at all. And but he's employed by the board. And sometimes people, like if, for example, and I'm not saying this situation eventuated, but if there was rumours that some of the people on the board didn't want Madge and it was sustained over a long period of time, and maybe they just got to Tim and eroded him down to thinking, well, maybe Madge isn't the guy, because Tim needs to stick around, probably wants a job and wants to be paid as well. And whatever he was saying before about Madge being the guy wasn't working. And so, you know, maybe he thought that Madge was the guy, but didn't want to say anything because, you know, he thought there's people here that are more powerful. Like sometimes when you're employed by a company, you kind of want to stay aligned to the people on the board that have the most power. And I'm not saying that happened here, by the way. I'm just saying that you can't discount anything because no one was really there. All we know is like the decision was made by whomever, and now every one of them has to be accountable for that decision because none of us know the inner workings of what went on. But regardless of whatever happened, they got it wrong. Like if there was someone on the board that didn't want Madge to go and was vehemently opposed to it, or has been. So let's say that over the last 10 years of non-success we've had or whatever, there was a couple of people on the board or management that were strictly opposed to whatever Justin was recommending, whatever. Surely by now, if I was on the board, I would come out and just be like, hey guys, I have gone against the decisions of this club for the past 8 years and they haven't listened to me. Like, I don't want to stay on here. But no one has done that. So none of them are saying that they're being opposed to anything that the club's done. Again, it's so you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I just think it's as simple as Tripper is just our last two performances were so bad. I think even with our loss to South and you know the previous losses before that, I think there was a lot to look forward to, and it looked like we'd had a reasonable foundation in terms of desperation in defence, looked a little bit better in attack, all that sort of stuff. The last two games we've been terrible, and I think Serraldo's just said, you know, do I really want to take this job on? It's a lot worse than it might be, and you know, there's certain players
maybe,
and he's Isaiah going to be enough to just turning this club around? I really don't know if I want this, but the thing is now, the way I looked at it, if Serraldo came to the club and failed, and we had the same blokes up top, I actually wouldn't blame Serraldo. So I really we've seen, especially with the last 7 years under Pasco, that we can't get on-field success. And his words on 9 News the other night was, it's our core product. Like, footy team is our core product. Like, so forget what else he does right. And those analogies you said earlier are spot on, and you said it more eloquently than we could ever say it. But yeah, it's just they've got to take some accountability, and that's what frustrates a lot of fans. And I know they're getting a lot of members ringing up saying they don't want to renew next year and all that sort of stuff, which is not nice. But I think even our members are trying to think, well, how can we wake these blokes up? But they still make the same mistakes, and they don't seem to learn from it. And they, like Lee denies to me that that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. Well, we just did it again a week and a half after he told me that we weren't. So, I don't know. The proof's in the pudding, Tripper. Like, it's just really frustrating. But I'm at the point now, like I said, I've kind of, emotionally detached myself from it because it hurts too much. Like, I watched the Canterbury game just, like I said, I could have watched it in the library. Like, I just thought, this means nothing, but hope the boys win. But if they lose, they lose. Like, it's, and we're halfway through the year, and it's really sad that we've got to put up with another 10 weeks of dead rubbers. And we need a coach signed ASAP. They've got to get whoever they want next, get it sorted and get it done quickly. Because I'm worried about I'm worried about who we're going to keep. I'm even worried if any of these guys might backflip if our gets into further messes. So yeah. Anyway,
I mean, sometimes though, like a lot of clubs that have won the wooden spoon have kind of turned it around, and we've never won a wooden spoon, and maybe we need to win one to actually get some change because I don't think we've hit rock bottom. We've always been kind of below middle of the road, but still not horrendous.
Yeah, we've had
losing to yeah, and I mean, like losing to Desco and Moses and Woods in 1 year was pretty bad. I mean, but anyway, I think look, if Jackson Hastings decide, like if I was him, I'd probably go to Canterbury. They need a halfback, and him and Burton together would be pretty good. So, I think if we lose a few key players now who don't want to extend, who could blame them? Then maybe
they might not have Burton though.
Yeah, but like, I mean. No, I know, and I know he's got the option for next year. But like, if they announce, I don't know who they're going to announce as their coach. But okay, even if so Burton hasn't. I know that he's got his option to extend, but look at it. He hasn't even. I mean, he's coming out and playing Origin at the moment, which is probably making him want to stay at Canterbury more because he's not. Even though you might be having on-field success with Canterbury, or they're having a bit more than us, he's played Origin. Regardless, he hasn't come out. And the club hasn't been drawn out as this drama like the Kardashians, like it would have been for us. Like they've just said, he doesn't know whether he's going to take his option up next year. Cool, fair enough. And then nobody talks about it really. But like,
he's actually something, Tripper. He's actually said that he's not going to exercise his option for 2024. So he's contracted next year. But see, next year he'll have Kick out there. He'll have Reed Marnie there.
Of course. So, and if they get a halfback, he might stay.
And he might get more money than what his option is too. He almost definitely will.
Yeah, exactly. He could even.
I just don't see our upside. Guys, I have to actually go because my battery's at 2%, so my phone's actually going to cut out any second.
No, all good, Ben.
But thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Safe
we'll have you definitely on again soon, Tripper. Thanks for calling in. Oh, I think the battery.
Yeah, this thing really drains his power. Your phones, yeah. At least we got him for 20 minutes. We
got him. We kept our promise. We brought him in. I think the 50, 60 people that stayed up late for Tripper up late. We should have called it, but good to hear from Tripper all the way from literally in Mykonos with a car and a bird and people running around amongst other things. I could hear in the background there, but that was good to have Tripper back on. Righto, boys, I'll wind it up here. Be sure to tune in Thursday night, 8:30. We'll be back to preview the game against the Warriors, and like I said, we'll get into the team list and everything to do with that game. Who knows? We might have a new coach by then. I doubt it, but
There's
Yeah,
probably
any
going to be
other-
another 10 plus news articles between now and then for us to talk about as well anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, and as I said earlier in the show, Shane Walker and Tim Brasher hopefully coming on Tuesday night. So look forward to that one. If you're, if you want to get questions asked to those boys, so we'll put the Patreon guys will get priority for that first, but patreon.com/Westlife. They'll drop some questions in the Discord over the next few days to, go across to one of the all-time great Tigers. So, as we say at the end of every episode, guys and boys, let's head out with, as always, go the Tigers.
Go the
Go
Tigers.
the Tigers.